Now, joining us from Washington, D.C. is David Desroches. He is a professor at the Thayer Marshall Institute. Now, I want to talk to you about the military build-up. There is an immense military build-up in the Gulf. You've got the USS Abraham Lincoln. You've got various bases that are on high alert. There are no good military options for the US. It's either a symbolic strike and then get back to the table to talks, which allows the regime to survive, or it's a full-on invasion, and then that is a 15-year project, as we saw in Afghanistan, as we saw in Iraq, in Libya, and many other places. What do you make of that theory?
I think it's a false dichotomy. I mean, there's a whole range of possible actions. The problem, of course, with most of them is that they would involve Iran retaliating against America's partners and allies in the region, which is virtually every state on the other side of the Gulf. So it is, though, a difficult situation. I mean, a limited strike is probably the preferred option. Trump's autobiography wasn't entitled "The Art of the Measured Application of Military Power." It was "The Art of the Deal." I think that's where he wants to go, but he knows that you have to create the right conditions for a deal. And of course, the other... Sorry.
So what are those conditions? What are those conditions to get to a deal?
Well, there's a couple of issues here. So the first one is, bear in mind, this started because Iran was massacring its own people. Trump wanted to do something about that, but unfortunately, when he turned to the military, we didn't really have the capabilities in the region. We could have conducted a strike, but we probably didn't have targets developed that would affect things like the besieged, the Revolutionary Guard, the people who were actually doing the violence. And we didn't have the assets in place to prevent a counterstrike. So there's that. I think when he gets to the table, he's not going to go for prolonged negotiations. I think the big issue is enrichment, missiles, and Iran's use of proxies. And I think that a deal would put restrictions on all of those. So far, Iran has said that enrichment is non-negotiable, that's a red line. I think that what Trump's trying to do is create conditions where that red line becomes pink and then white.
But we were here already, surely, David. The JCPOA did take into consideration a lot of those things, not the red line for enrichment or the proxies, but certainly it was a deal that Iran was sticking to, it was working, and it was Donald Trump that pulled out. So are we, in effect, back to the table negotiating effectively what we've already negotiated?
Well, you actually left off the issue that people where you're sitting are most concerned about, which is Iran's missiles. So my criticism at the time of the JCPOA was that we had a broad range of concerns with Iran. We had the missile development, we had the drone development, we had the proxies, we had human rights, and we had the nuclear file. And our main tool that we were using were sanctions. We lifted the sanctions in exchange for progress only on the nuclear file. And by the way, Iran still retained rights of enrichment. What that did was create licenses for the other things. And we saw, of course, the expansion of Iranian military forces, most particularly into Syria. I mean, Bashar al-Assad would have fallen in 2013 had it not been for IRGC and IRGC-directed Hezbollah support on his side. So, it was flawed, but there never was an agreement restricting or rather forbidding Iranian enrichment on Iranian soil, which is what I think Trump is seeking on that front. But there are the other issues that the JCPOA didn't address as well.
Now, I want to talk to you about something that I've been hearing increasingly from people within America that are Iran watchers, academics, etc., who are pushing this theory that it might be better to actually do a deal not with the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, but with the IRGC, lift the sanctions there, allow them to have their money, and they can deal with the Ayatollahs for you. Is that something you put any stock in?
Well, I think that there are variants of this, and it really goes down to the argument about the invasion of Iraq. The Central Command commander prior to the invasion of Iraq, General Tony Zinni, his theory was that we basically fomented a coup within Iraq get rid of Saddam Hussein, draw up red lines that are a little bit different. We were concerned about WMD. Iraq's nuclear program wasn't as advanced as people thought it was at the time, but they did have an active chemical weapons program. So anyhow, you constrain those people, and people look at what we did in Venezuela, where we basically just got rid of the leader, but kept a lot of his followers in power. And say, okay, is this a model for Iran? So I think what they're doing is applying the Iranian metaphor there. The question is, would that actually serve global interests? And I'm uncertain of it, because one thing Khamenei has done is, at least publicly, has said that they're not going to develop a nuclear weapon. And the other question is, can the IRGC actually be managed? That is a very open question. If they take overt control of the country, I would argue they have covert control now, but overtly they may be unconstrained in ways that don't serve security interests.
David DesRoches, always fascinating to get your thoughts. Thank you so much.
Well, they're great questions. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.